Grand Seiko versus Rolex has slowly become the new competition on the block. While in the past, the most common rival to Rolex was a brand called Omega. It was a competition within the same beautiful country of Switzerland, and it still is. While Omega still stands its ground against Rolex, and in fact surpasses Rolex on a technical level, a company in the northern part of Japan has been making waves as of late, and is capturing the attention of people, including the master himself, Mr. Philippe IV. This isn't Seiko's first fight against the Swiss, however. Back in the 1970s, Seiko decided to really set their stone in the watchmaking world with a new technology they called quartz. The result? Well, they nearly destroyed the entire mechanical watch industry, and even today's rival caved in and created a watch called the Oyster Quartz. That said, just because they were a powerhouse in the past and put many of the big dogs on their feet, doesn't mean they can still compete in modern times. Longines is a big example of a company that once was, but now is lost. Can Grand Seiko actually compete with Rolex? Let's find out with these two episodes, including this first one with the GMT watches. In front of us we have our icons. On the left we have the BL&R GMT from the house of Rolex, and on the right we have the SBGJ 001 GMT from the house of Seiko. Yes, even though this is a Grand Seiko, this is from the previous generation before the two entities split. While that does not change the overall quality, it's important to note, but the BL&R is also from a previous generation. Let's start off by addressing the elephant in the room. The biggest factor to choosing will be aesthetic. While many will argue you can't pin a dressier watch against a sports watch, the Grand Seiko is robust enough to take a beating, so in my eyes, it's a worthy opponent. The second is the price. Trading at around 16 to 20k, the BL&R is 3 to 4 times the price of the Grand Seiko. But despite the big gap, let's be honest, the Rolex will hold better value than the Grand Seiko. At current prices, probably not, but we can all agree that it will most likely at least retain retail pricing. The SBGJ 001 has a stunning radial pattern dial which is inspired by Mount Iwate over in the northern part of Japan. More on that in the future full review. The watch has a stunning 40mm stainless steel case with a mix of extremely gorgeous cuts of high polishing and brushing. The biggest downfall of this watch is the bracelet. It does come short compared to the over-engineered bracelet of the Rolex, so that has some room for improvement. The watch itself is a pure work of art. It's finished to a level of perfection. The movement utilizes a 36,000 beats caliber called the 9S86, or 10 ticks per second, which is stunning to look at in the metal. The next watch we have is the Rolex BL&R, also known as the Batman. Quite frankly, one of my favorite Rolexes ever made, and the Movement 3186 used to be my favorite until they announced the 3285 with a longer 70-hour power reserve. The finishing on the watch is not as detailed as the Grand Seiko, with mostly polished case and quite boring once you see what Zaratsu looks like. Quite frankly, Zaratsu polishing spoils you from liking any other polishing, so that isn't really fair. The Rolex GMT, however, is more robust and sporty. When wearing it, you absolutely have no worries, and having that 24-hour bezel is better than the Grand Seiko's inner 24-hour ring, although they do have a GMT with a bezel, but this isn't part of today's comparison. The devil is of course in the details, and this is where Grand Seiko was able to stand up to the big brands. The level of finishing on Grand Seiko dials, cases, and even their stamped logo and crown far exceeds brands that are multiples its price. It's just facts. When taking the human out of the equation, you lose the artistic aspect of the watch, which is what we love as collectors. Hand polishing and creating the most beautiful dials in the industry is why Grand Seiko has been getting the recognition it deserves. Though of course we can't argue with the build quality and reputation of Rolex. They are masters at marketing, and that's kind of what Grand Seiko lacks, which is why they lose a lot of value, and that's the biggest problem with Grand Seiko. Can the Grand Seiko actually stand up against the Rolex? Yes, in my opinion they can, especially that they have other options as well. But just that beautiful dial and how clean that watch is, I think it could stand up to the Rolex. But if Rolex is what you want, if the BL&R is what you want, then there's no real alternative to whatever you desire. Now that doesn't make the Rolex GMT any less of a watch or the Grand Seiko. Even though it's less in price, the watch is absolutely stunning. And quite frankly, having both these watches side by side, it makes a good two-watch collection in my opinion. But guys, first I would like to thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in the Rolex or the Grand Seiko, make sure you check out exquisite-timepieces.com. They're actually an authorized dealer for many brands such as Grand Seiko, Omega, Blancpain, Breguet, and many more. They also have really cool pre-owned watches. And if you're interested in any Rolex watch, they pretty much have everything, so make sure you contact them and mention that you heard about them from the channel. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Please add in the comment section below what you would choose. Would you choose the Batman? Would you choose the Grand Seiko? What would you choose and why? Also, what watches would you like me to review next? And guys, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.